We are live on the air here on the Max Talk Movies YouTube channel. My name is Max Hamburg, back as always, but sadly, Joe Baldwin could not be here this week. He had a lot of personal college matters to attend to this Saturday. So my brother Ben is back on the show. Ben was here earlier, very in the beginnings of the show. He is back in place of Joe for this week. And whenever basically Joe is not here, Ben will probably be on the show. So Ben is back, and we'll be talking about Spider-Man villains today. So Spider-Man villains, we have so many movies now. We have the Sam Raimi trilogy. We have the Andrew Garfield 2 movies. We have the 2 Tom Holland movies, as well as the Spider-Verse movie itself that we are going to rank. To rank. Sorry. So before we get started, the best way, guys, once again, to support this channel is to hit that like button. Please, you can, once this video is done, if you're watching this on the replay, you can comment down below and also let us know in the chat your favorite Spider-Man villains, your least favorite. Tell us your list, and also ask us some questions. We can have some Spider-Man 3 questions that people are asking about Electro and Doctor Strange, and possibly Garfield and Maguire have already signed on for the 3rd one. So let us know if you want to ask us questions about that. And also subscribe. I'll tell you about some more videos down the pipe this upcoming week at the end of the stream. So as always, we're going to go 10-1 because there really isn't a lot of amazing villains in these Spider-Man movies. We're going to do 10, and we're not going to do honorable mentions. You know why some of these villains will not be mentioned. I think we all could agree to that. So Ben, as our guest, will kick us off. What is your number 10, your least, out of this top 10, your number 10 villain?
Okay, so for me, coming in at the number 10 spot is going to be the Shocker from Spider-Man Homecoming. I really enjoyed this villain. I thought that he was a good side villain, with the main villain being Vulture, who I love very, very much. I think that, his gauntlet arm was really cool, and I think the performance of the character was well put and it fit well into this movie.
Yeah. 2 shockers you got in that movie. You had Logan Marshall Green in the first half, and you had the other guy in the second half. My number 10 is actually another villain from Homecoming, and that is the Tinkerer, who a character that I actually really enjoyed in the Homecoming. Now in the comics, he had a much, much bigger role in things, but he does build basically all of Vulture's stuff. He's really Vulture's number 1 guy behind him. I mean, Shocker's there, but he always talks down to Shocker throughout the movie, both of them. So Tinkerer is a guy who always stands by Toomes throughout the entire movie. He creates all of the tech that they got from the first Avengers movie. Again, not an impact whatsoever. As I said, they're really only on my list 6, maybe 7 good to great villains from these movies. So it's going to be tough to talk about these 10 through possibly 5 without having some complaints with them. But this guy, as I said, tough to put him on this list because he really barely is in the movie. But when he's in, he does bring a nice comic relief to the movie and a really nice character to go with Keaton's Toomes. Let's move into your number 9, Ben.
Coming in my spot for number 9 is from the original Amazing Spider-Man movie, The Lizard. I like this villain more than a lot of people do. I think that his interactions with Peter in the beginning when he goes to his house are very interesting, and I like their interactions together. They have good chemistry. I think that it does get a little ridiculous towards the end, but I think that his reasons for what he's doing are understandable. So that's why he comes in at the number 9 spot for me.
Yeah, my Lizard's also my 9, but I hate Lizard. So this is where he had to fall. I was looking at all the villains, and it's sad to say, but he is easily the strongest villain from the Garfield movies, and he's not even close to being a strong villain. Again, the CGI is okay for the time it came out. The actor playing him, Rhys Ifans, does a really good job in the role. But there isn't, as you said, you believe that you understand his motive. There was really no motive. He just has a reattached arm and he turns into a lizard. And as you said, it's one of the most ridiculous conclusions to a movie, with the fact that he wants to turn all of New York City to lizard people for no apparent reason. We're never given a reason why he does that. And he's the one who kills Gwen's dad, which was obviously one of the biggest parts of Garfield's movies. But as a whole, a lot of the deleted scenes were actually great for his character. They deleted a lot of his scenes. And if you go back to watch some of the behind the scenes or the deleted scenes, as I said earlier, of this character, you might like this character a lot more. But because it's not in the movie, I can't judge the movie based off of deleted scenes giving me background that he has a kid and he's doing this for his family. But instead, he's just a crazy lunatic who has a reattached arm. But it was just a lot for me to take in. He's easily one of the weakest parts of the movie, but because of this list, he has to be in here because of how worse some other villains are, who I'm not going to spoil for people if they're not on my list. So, Ben, go into your number 8.
Sliding into this spot for me is going to be Mrs. Olivia Octavius in the Spider-Verse movie. I think that she was a really good accomplice or sidekick, whatever you would like to call her, to Kingpin. I thought that she provided some more comic relief from the villain that we didn't really see with Kingpin. I thought that her arc in the movie was interesting. The scenes in which Miles Morales and the other Spider-Man are infiltrating their place is very interesting and very fun to watch. And that's why she's going to come in here at the number 8 spot for me. And I also like the fact that we get a strong female villain to combat with Kingpin.
Yeah, a good pick, a sneaky one in this franchise. My number 8 is going to be Harry Osborn from Spider-Man 3. Now, the reason why I can't push him higher is that he's only really a bad guy for maybe a scene or two in this movie. As the movie, so obviously Harry is distraught that before the movie, Spider-Man 2, he finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, and then in 1, he always has believed that Spider-Man is the one who killed his father. But in 2, at the end of 2, he finds out that his dad was Goblin from the first one. So he breaks the mirror, and then we get to set up this opening, really fun action scene that has not held up at all. The Harry versus Peter fight, where Peter's in a suit. It's easily the worst CGI in the entire franchise when Harry's on a blade cutting in between two houses, and it looks so green screened up. Which is normally not a negative to Raimi's films. They really look clean, but this one does not hold up. But again, Harry has a good motive. He does not like Peter whatsoever because Peter's Spider-Man, and he believes that Peter did kill his dad. So he has good motive. Harry was really pissed off at him in the second one anyway, before he even turned. And then Harry lost his memory after that fight, and then he comes back, and the last time he's really a bad guy is the fist fight between him and Peter in his house when Peter has become the black suited Spider-Man. Really fun fights. Got some great one-liners that everyone uses as memes now in that fight. Really, that whole movie is used as a meme now, Spider-Man 3. But again, he didn't get enough time. I believe Harry being the main villain, the possibly only villain of this movie, would have been great because it would have been a more focused movie instead of having Harry being there, Venom, and Sandman. There's as the main issue with the movie is there's too many things going on with Spider-Man 3, and Harry losing his memory was a terrible idea. And the fact that when the worst scene of the movie, in my opinion, is when Harry is talking with Peter in the coffee shop, and then Peter leaves the coffee shop. And he looks at Harry, and then Harry just disappears. I mean, Harry just can't disappear. He's just a person. So it always annoys me when I watch that scene again. But yeah, so Harry from Spider-Man 3. James Franco, solid actor, but not the best villain, but a solid one for what the movie was given time for. Do you want to add on, or you want to go into your number 7?
I'm good to move on, and I'm going to move on for Spider-Man 3, The Sandman. I enjoyed Thomas Hayden Church's performance as the Sandman. I think the flashbacks of him finding out that he killed Ben and the reason that he killed Ben is heartbreaking, but I do think that there's too much going on in this movie to have a good, strong, focused villain because we have Harry. and Venom in there also. I think that the fight scenes are entertaining. When the police officers discover the sand in the truck is just awesome. Um, that movie had so many good action sequences from the past, and I think that Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman holds up for my number 7 spot.
Yeah. Thomas Hayden Church, who hasn't really done that much in the last 10 years, in my opinion. My number 7 is Ben's number 8, I believe. That's Olivia Octavius from Spider-Verse, a character who, again, just like Harry, does not get really much of any screen time in the movie. She pops in one of the most fun sequences in the film where Miles learns that he is invisible. And that whole breakdown was really funny. But then you learn that it's this version of Doc Ock in this multiverse, which I think we're going to see in the live action pretty soon. But seeing her come up was actually a great twist, a twist that I don't think we saw coming in the theater. Some backstory there. Ben and I went to see the movie 2 weeks early. Yeah, 2 weeks early to see that movie. And it was just an experience unlike other. I think we're going to talk about that if we get to Kingpin, if we both have Kingpin on this list, more about our background with the movie. But again, Olivia is a very fascinating character. She did not die, I believe. I don't think she died in the movie. So if there is sequels, she could become the main antagonist. But again, what's great about her too is that she has a completely different look from Alfred Molina's look. It's not just all machine. It looks really different than Alfred Molina's portrayal of the character, and that's great. We don't want a 2.0 version of Alfred Molina's character. You want something different, not just gender, but in general. So they did a really, really good job with her. Again, she really is not even close to being the main villain of the movie. She still is way below on the depth chart for Kingpin, but a very fascinating movie. And before we get into the next one, Nandy's saying hi. Nandy's great. Nandy's always, sorry we're not talking Star Wars, Nandy, but stay with us talking Spider-Man villains. Let us know your list, Nandy. I want to hear your list before we end the clip. We're heading into our number 6, guys. We are only 12 minutes in, so this might be a short episode today, but stay tuned. We'll be here as long as you want us here. Ben, go into your number 6, please.
All right. Falling in the number 6 spot for me is the main antagonist of Spider-Man into Spider-Verse, Kingpin. I like this villain. I think that his animation is really funny, how his head barely fits his body. I love that. It's hilarious. His motivations are understandable. We see that he's just trying to get back to the family he lost. And I think that he's a strong antagonist for this movie. I absolutely love this movie. It was nothing like I'd ever seen before. As Max told you guys, we saw it early, and we were just amazed. And I think that he really fits the tone of this movie well, and that's why he falls to the number 6 spot for me.
Yeah. I'll spoil it. Kingpin's going to be on my list, so I'll talk about more about the background for Ben and I and how special the movie it really was for us very soon. So, but he's not my number. My next pick, as you can see scrolling across the bottom of your screen now, really guys to help you out, Sandman from Spider-Man 3. I think he's a really big bright spot in that movie that is such a mess. I had a lot of fun with Thomas Hayden Church's character in the movie. Now, I would say good first act of the movie is really great for Spider-Man 3. Like, it's a really good start to the movie. I said, other than that bad CGI fight with Harry and Peter, the idea of Sandman being this guy who comes in and out of prison, he has a daughter who I believe has cancer or a bad sickness or something. And he realizes he's doing it for her. And even, I think it's one of the best superhero scenes of all time, seeing Sandman in the sand transform into the Sandman we know. Beautiful score from Christopher Young, a beautiful scene, great CGI with all that sand. It really holds up. As I said, that Sandman versus Spider-Man truck fight is, I would say, okay. It is really quick. My favorite fight of the whole movie is Spider-Man versus Sandman down in the sewers with black suited Spider-Man. It's the first time we see black suited Spider-Man in action. I hum that whole sequence of music over and over again. I love that fight. It's so great. But you brought up a positive for the reason that how he killed Ben. I thought it was one of the worst parts of the character and of the movie is that they retcon stuff from the first movie. And as you guys know on this channel, Spider-Man 1 is my favorite Spider-Man movie. And I liked the idea that the guy who Spider-Man eventually kills in the beginning of the first movie wasn't actually the killer. And I did not like that choice. I thought that it made no sense that Thomas Hayden Church killed him. And then at the ending, it was not a good ending for his character. He kind of disappears in the third act while they're having this big fight scene of Sandman and Venom and Harry and Peter. Sandman is pretty much forgotten about because inside the building it's just basically Harry, Peter, and Venom. And Sandman kind of gets forgotten about. And then Peter accepts an apology from Sandman. I did not appreciate that whatsoever. But I am hoping, actually, if we do, we already Electro is signed on to Spider-Man 3 at the moment for Tom Holland's film. I actually would have rather seen Sandman get another chance with a more focused narrative. His character goes all over the place in the movie. As I said, the intro to his character is really well done. But once he starts retconning stuff from the first movie, and really once he starts teaming up with Venom, that's when the third act really collapses itself. And he doesn't die. So Sandman is my number 6. Again, good villain, had amazing potential, but is my number 6. Before we get into our top 5, Ben, hold the phone there. We are 16 and a half minutes into this. As Nandy says, Spider-Man is the amazing superhero. He is my favorite superhero of all time. I love talking Spider-Man with you guys. Before we continue, once again, guys, please like this video. All 5 you guys watching live at the moment, please hit that like button. That's the best way for more people to check out my videos. As we continue, once again, ask us questions in your list in the chat. If we're done this list and we do not have any more chat or comments, we are going to call it a day. So if you want us to keep us on talking Spider-Man villains or just Spider-Man in general, the future of the character, you got to let us know in the chat, because we're going to be done with no chat if that's how it is. But if that's how it is, Ben and I have a short day at the office. Ben, let's go into our top 5. I think Ben and I both talked about this off air. These are great villains now heading into our top 5 here. Top tier superhero villains, I believe. So Ben, give us your number 5.
For me, starting out, my top 5 is going to be Harry, the James Franco performance from the Sam Raimi trilogy. I think that just the story of Harry and Peter from the beginning of 1 and 2 and seeing their relationship develop and all these underlying storylines about his hatred for Spider-Man, but we know how much he cares for Peter. And I think that in 3, there are they have great chemistry, period. And I think that I agree with you. He could have had him be the main villain of 3 and had a more focused narrative. I agree that him hitting his head and losing his memory kind of throws off his villain plot just to be redeemed at the end. But through and through, I love James Franco's performance as Harry, and his death is no less heartbreaking after he became a villain. So that's why he comes in at number 5 for me.
Yeah, it's a good point. I have a lot more issues with, obviously, I critique movies. Ben does not, but I see your point. There are issues with the character, and there are some really good positives. I feel like he had more potential in that film, and that's why he just couldn't make my list. Moving in now to my top 5, really pumped, and obviously I'll give you more breakdown on this character. And that was Ben's earlier. That's Kingpin, a character voiced by Liev Schreiber, who I really enjoyed. I would have loved a lot more of him. He didn't get enough screen time because they were trying to explain the multiverse and background of all the different Spider people, basically, I would say, in the movie. But he has a great presence. The background with his family, his look, he's a really towering figure. And I said, this is not about Kingpin, but just in general, yeah. Ben and I saw the movie 2 weeks early, going in thinking, who cares about this movie? We thought nothing of it. I knew the Miles Morales character. Ben did not before this film. So it was a brand new experience for both of us, really, seeing this. And it was a Spider-Man animated movie. I think both of us can attest that we did not believe it would turn out to be so special. And I was never more shocked or blown away in a theater in my entire life. I always say sometimes in my reviews that I'm pleasantly surprised about a movie. Like, it does better than I expected. This did. I had no expectations heading in. It's one of my favorite animated movies of all time. It's one of my favorite Spider-Man movies, right, Ben? Is that the same thing for you?
Yeah, for sure. It's arguably my favorite Spider-Man movie. I just like it through and through. There's comic relief, there's some drama, there's great action. Just the way they made it look, the CGI is absolutely phenomenal. It blew me out of the water.
Yeah. And again, animated movie. Kingpin did a good job in the movie. Obviously, we probably won't see him come back, but his battle in the third act is really, really good. It's really powerful messages as well for Miles having the responsibility of taking care of him, not Peter B. Parker. A really brilliant ending to the movie. So that is my number 5. So let's go into your top 4, Ben.
So for me, this is where I start highlighting the best villains. And for me, number 4 is going to be Doc Ock. I love Alfred Molina's performance in this. I think that the connection he has with Peter, both being misunderstood intellectuals per se. I really like it. I think that the scene where he, officially becomes Doc Ock and realizes that he doesn't have his wife anymore, his experiment went wrong, no one's really gonna respect him anymore, and he just turns to violence and thieving, and becomes the main villain of this. And the scene with Aunt May is very interesting. You don't know what's gonna happen. I think that he was was a really, really, really strong villain for this film. I really enjoyed his performance, and all around, he was just a very good villain.
Yeah. I'm sure this is Ben's number 3. I literally, once Ben was talking, flip-flopped my 3 and 4. And my number 4 is going to be Mysterio. So I really loved him the first time I watched the movie. Now, I saw the movie twice or maybe even 3 times, I believe, in the theater. So I saw the movie a lot. I still have rewatched it plenty of times on cable and stuff. And again, Jake Gyllenhaal is fantastic in the role. Again, this is a really great villain. They've nailed a Mysterio character who everyone thought could not be done live action. In the comics, he's one of, if not everyone's favorite villain for people. And again, he's one of my favorite villains from the comics. And Gyllenhaal I love watching an actor who's definitely having fun playing the role. And you can tell Gyllenhaal is soaking up all the screen time he gets. Again, it's very predictable in the first half of the movie, the fact that Mysterio is actually a good guy, and then he turns into a bad guy. The twist never really worked for me because, again, like me, who knows the comics very, very well, and Ben does as well, you know that Mysterio is actually a villain, never a good guy. So I think for a casual audience who had no idea of what the Mysterio character is, I think the twist would work. But for someone like me who knows the twist, knows that he's really a big bad villain, doesn't really work. My other big issue is really is that reveal scene of him, the whole thing of him doing a speech in front of the table. It felt so cheesy and out of place with Spider-Man. It didn't fit the movie. The fact that he was the one who created the tech that Iron Man used in the beginning of Civil War, never really loved that. But the CGI with his character when Mysterio would fight Spider-Man was so well done that it really did carry into a really well done third act. Obviously, Gyllenhaal gets a lot more screen time in that first half of the movie, but his battle scenes with Peter in the end was really brilliant. I still believe Mysterio is not dead. I believe he will be the one who creates the multiverse and sets everyone up here for the Sinister Six. We already have Electro, Vulture, Scorpion already in this universe now. Although Electro is joining this multiverse possibly. Who else will we see? It's going to be a really fascinating Spider-Man 3. And that's what I have it as. Ben, is this your number 3?
He is. He is my number 3, is Mysterio. I love this villain. I think Jake Gyllenhaal, sorry, eats this role up. He slays it absolutely through and through. I had prior knowledge that he was the big bad of this movie, but his performance is so good that you almost believe it. Honestly, I knew it was coming. It wasn't a shock to me when it happened, obviously, but I think his performance was really good. As you said, the CGI works so well with him. Mysterio is such a fascinating character, and I was so happy to see how they put him together for this movie. His costume's awesome. The CGI is awesome. There are some little dumb things in there. Like you said, the speech is really not a great scene. But besides that, I can't really find any faults with him. So that's why he comes in at the number 3 spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. I got it all the way. Let's move into our top three, Ben. And no, my top three. Sorry. Uniform with your Mysterio number 3. My number 3 is Doc Ock, which was your number 4, I believe. Right, Ben? That was your number 4.
Yeah.
I love Doc Ock. Alfred Molina does a really, really good job with the character in this movie. It's a really brilliant exploration of how the relationship between Dr. Octavius and Peter stems from. I think the PS4 game nailed that a bit more, but the performance is better in the movie. The fact that Peter basically looked up to Octavius his whole life. He's doing a paper on him. He meets him. Dr. Octavius seems like Peter's older Peter in the fact that he's very much a nerd. The way that Octavius explains how he met his wife, all of that was great stuff. His turn is really, really dark in this movie as well. Obviously, Raimi directed the Evil Dead film, so he comes from a horror background. And I believe that it really helps in that hospital scene, which is one of the best superhero scenes of all time, with Doc Ock escaping the hospital. Felt like a horror movie. As a kid, it really was a horror movie in that scene. And I said, one of the best superhero fight scenes of all time, definitely the best Spider-Man fight scene of all time. And it is the train scene between a Spider-Man and Doc Ock, which is done so brilliantly. It holds up so well. And then Doc Ock, at the end of the day, sacrifices himself at the end of the movie. He sacrifices himself. It was really a good ending because now he realized Peter was Spider-Man the whole time. The idea of Doc Ock and Harry working with each other didn't really make a whole lot of sense. How Harry just had everything Doc Ock needed. Never really made sense to me, but he got a great, great villain. Would love to see his character come back. Obviously, he's kind of dead, so probably won't happen again, but great performance by an actor who doesn't get enough credit for that performance. Top 2, I think I know each other's 1 and 2. Ben, what is your number 2?
This was a really interesting choice for me because I love this villain so much. Coming in at the number 2 spot for me is going to be the original Green Goblin portrayed by Willem Dafoe. This performance was eerily freaking amazing. He absolutely slays this role. He's so demonic and so demented. The suit and the glider, and it all works so well in this introduction to Spider-Man. I think that him finding out, because we have so much information in this movie about how close he is friends with Green Goblin's son Harry, and their relationship, and how he just targets everyone in Spider-Man's life, as villains usually do, but he absolutely slays it.
Yeah.
I don't think he could be any lower or any higher than the number 2 spot.
Yeah, and he's my number 2 as well. I think it's a great, great performance from Dafoe, who I think easily could be Joker. I'm shocked he hasn't been Joker before, but this is a great performance, a great mental, and he does 95% of the stunts in the movie. So Dafoe really committed himself. He begged for this role, and he got it for a reason. Now, Goblin, the whole joke is he looks like a Power Ranger. I enjoy the outfit for what it is. It's a 2002 movie, guys. It was not made in 2020. It was made 20 years ago. It's what it is. And then Dafoe. Now, my favorite part of Spider-Man 1, which makes it my favorite Spider-Man movie, is the fact that while, yes, it's a Spider-Man origin story for Peter, it is also basically half a Peter origin story and half a Norman Osborn origin story. The fact that Norman gets basically the same amount of screen time as Peter in the movie just shows you how dedicated Raimi was to making a great villain that really, really worked. The fact that we see him, he's really in trouble. His board is basically firing him, even though it's his own company. And he created this glider, and he's like, well, I'm just going to kill the people who did that to me. It makes him insane. But also, Osborn and Peter have a great relationship because Norman does not really believe in his own son, Harry, in that first movie. And really, he takes on Peter as his own son more than Harry, which is why the big dispute between Peter and Harry always happened, was because it seemed like Norman always wanted to make sure Peter was okay, not Harry. And that was a great aspect of the movie. His battles with Peter, especially the one in the fire in the apartment, always makes me laugh when it's a screaming lady, but no, it's Goblin. It always works. And then the end fight scene is brutal. Goblin pretty much destroys Peter, punches him like crazy. Blood's all over the place. But then he loses to his own blade, which is really heartbreaking. And then he ends on saying, "Don't tell Harry." A really heartbreaking end to the Spider-Man movie. A great performance that I believe is easily the best villain of Raimi's films. And I just love the character. He's got great chemistry with Maguire, great chemistry with Franco. The whole all the scenes with him talking to the mask and the reveal of him, you just know he's a good actor. The mirror scene where he's talking basically to Willem Dafoe himself, 2 different Willem Dafoe performances. His laugh is great. He does make this work, and him and Tobey Maguire kill it. It's why it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. But we know who we have at number 1, the Vulture from Homecoming. Ben, go first.
Yeah, but I do want to add one thing about the Green Goblin that I forgot to mention, and that I believe it's a Macy's Day Parade, but that parade scene where Goblin comes in and just destroys everyone is probably one of my favorite action scenes of all time. When he comes in and just destroys the party, he almost kills Mary Jane. The fight scene in there with Peter is so well done, and I think it's just phenomenal. I just wanted to add that. But for me, Vulture has to come in at number 1, and I don't think he's just the best Spider-Man villain. He's in my top 3 Marvel villains of all time. I think that Vulture is absolutely phenomenal. Michael Keaton slays this. The score behind him is so good. He's the most understandable villain, one of the most understandable villains I've ever seen in movies. How he's just trying to get by, trying to do this all for his family, and how it intersects with Peter practically dating his daughter. And that scene in the car is just tension upon tension, and it is so well done. I don't like his demise in the end, where he just basically goes down because he was just trying to fly away with the thing and it got caught. I didn't really like that. His ending, but everything up to that was absolutely phenomenal, and that's why there's no other number 1 Spider-Man villain but Vulture for me.
Yeah, Vulture as well. As you said, Michael Keaton is my favorite actor of all time. I love Michael Keaton. He actually just popped up in a cameo role in Trial of the Chicago 7, which was great to see. But again, he is a great actor, and this role was different for him. Obviously, he was Batman, and then he played someone in Birdman who's very anti-superhero as well. So a very interesting character. As I said, very understandable villain. Just wants to do this for his family. Poor, basically gets fired by government officials trying to clean up the events of the first Avengers movie. And basically Downey fired him, basically, without telling him. And what's great about this movie is Peter is never taken seriously. Vulture is so good that even Iron Man says to forget about him in the opening act of the movie and move on to bigger and better things. And Peter just stays on it. Vulture is a character who is very sneaky as well. A character, just like Mysterio, who no one thought could be nailed in live action form. A character that could not be nailed, and it was way more than nailed. He's my second favorite MCU villain. Him and Killmonger have great similarities because sometimes you agree with the villain, and that's when it happens. But again, Michael Keaton, that huge twist that he was Peter's love interest, his dad, was one of the best twists in the MCU we've ever gotten before. I remember every time I watched the movie, the first time we were in the theater, and everyone in the theater gasped that it happened. Great twist, and it's such an intense car scene between the 3 of them and Vulture finding out. And again, the airplane scene I like. Once they get onto the sand there, it's a pretty piss poor action scene. But it seems like Vulture, who goes to prison, we see him pop up at the end of the end credit scene. We see him pop up in the trailer for Morbius. So it seems like we're nowhere near done with this character, possibly popping up in Spider-Man 3, definitely in Morbius. more in Spider-Man because we're going to get possibly a Sinister Six movie. I do love this character as well. But we are at the 35-minute mark, and we are done with our rings. And we're going to stay on for the next 5 minutes as long as you guys want it. And we're going to go through. Nandy did have a question in that I do want to answer. He asked us 20 minutes ago. What do you guys think about Carnage? Now, here's the thing. Ben has not seen Venom. So I don't. But Ben, based on your knowledge of maybe the comics, or do you even know who Carnage is?
I know a very little about him. I know that he is also a symbiote similar to Venom. And I know that Woody Harrelson has been cast in the role of Carnage. And Carnage, from what I've seen, I've played some Marvel video games. I know a little bit of his backstory. I know what he looks like. I think that with Woody Harrelson behind the helm, this could be a very, very fascinating villain, and just in general. So I think it could work. There's a lot of potential there. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, happy Ben you didn't see the movie. Venom is a train wreck of a movie, just like Spider-Man 3. And after that, it's just a train wreck. It's a mess. Too many things going on. So Carnage was in the post-credit scene of Venom, and we saw Woody Harrelson. And Andy Serkis will be directing the second movie, which is really interesting because I think Serkis is actually a really good director. And I think that Tom Hardy's a good Venom, not a great Eddie Brock, but a good Venom. But I'm hoping for a new direction with this franchise. There are going to be a lot more Venom movies because the first one made $1 billion. So Carnage is a character that I'm really excited to see in live action form. We didn't see the Carnage form in the post-credits scene. We just saw Woody Harrelson, the human. So will it just be like the end of the first Venom, where it's just Venom and another symbiote fighting each other? Did not work in the first one. Will it do in the same in the second one? I don't know. I'm not particularly ecstatic for a Venom 2. I get why they're doing a Venom 2. Am I going to see it opening night or even Thursday night before the movie even comes out? Yes, because I'm a big Super Spider-Man fan, and Venom and Spider-Man are very much entangled with each other. And I'm sure that we're going to see Tom Holland and Tom Hardy meet up one time. But I think Carnage should be a better villain than Riz Ahmed's villain in the first one by far. I hate that villain in the first Venom. So not much to do better than that. But yeah, Carnage will be in Venom 2, played by Harrelson. But we are out of questions, so we're going to stay on for another 2 minutes while we are wrapping things up for this show. I'll tell you some next videos coming out on this YouTube channel. Actually, some more prior. So yesterday, I watched 2 new movies. I watched Clouds, which is the brand new based off a true story. I almost cried watching it. Disney Plus original film. I already reviewed that on my YouTube channel. That's up. And also this morning, I put up my review for the new Netflix film, The Trial of the Chicago 7, my new favorite movie of 2020. You can also check that one out on my YouTube channel already. And the next couple days are going to be busy on this YouTube channel. Monday, it is the last episode of Lovecraft Country. I'll be doing a spoiler review for that episode, and I'm going to do a non-spoiler review for the entire season of Lovecraft Country. Wednesday, there's a new Armie Hammer Netflix movie. I'll be reviewing that. Borat. I'm reviewing Borat 2 on Thursday. So there's so much coming down the pipe. So the best thing to do for this YouTube channel is to hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe, and please ring that bell so you're notified of when I'm uploading these YouTube videos. I've been really busy with this channel. It's really keeping me busy. Nanny, to end the night, will say, remember when I played Spider-Man PS1? Wow, crazy back that far. And fought with Carnage. He is deadly. Carnage is a very dangerous character. I'm really hoping that he is done right live action. A video game is much different than live act in a movie form. So I'm really pumped to see how they turn out Carnage. But that, I want to thank Ben Dinnenberg, my brother, so much for taking the 40 minutes he spent with me in place of Joe Baldwin this week, because Ben did a fantastic job on the show. I think we can all agree. Please follow me on all my social medias down below. Ben, before we go, let us know where we can follow you on your social media platforms, and what are you doing? Like, are you still twitching, Ben? Let everyone know here in the stream.
All right. Well, I'm most active on my Instagram. You can find me just at Ben Dinnenberg, no caps, one word. I'm streaming a lot less nowadays, but I'm hoping to pick it back up soon. And if you would like to, you can follow me at twitch.tv /DJ Monies03, spelled how you think. I would appreciate all the support. And thank you for having me, Max.
Yeah, it was a fun show. Please follow Ben, DM, do whatever you want to do on all of his social media channels. Ben will be twitching very, very soon as well, as he just said. So follow him there. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Twitter is at Dinnenberg Max, and Instagram is Max Dinnenberg. Also, Letterboxd. If you like movie reviews written down instead of me doing it, talking to you guys, I have all my written versions of my reviews on Letterboxd, and you can see all my year rankings on there as well. Thank you guys so much. Nandy, thank you for all your support. Hopefully, guys, Joe Baldwin will be back with me next week talking a brand new topic. If not, you know who'll be back. Ben Dinnenberg will be back as soon as we want him to be here. So thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much, everyone watching this video. We'll see you guys. I'll see you guys on Monday afternoon.